Today in the studio we have Tom here, who's the owner of Performance Automatic, and he's going to tell us about all the different Ford transmission offerings that are available here at CJ's. Thanks for coming, and what do we got here?
Well, Bill, you can see we brought some hardware.
I see that. you guys came prepared.
Yeah, we brought some of our hardware, and actually, you know, for many, many years, our most popular hardware has been our C4.
Still, I would think it's probably your most popular transmission.
Still pretty popular because, as I said earlier, nothing else fits in a 65, 66 Mustang, and it's still a great racing transmission. So let me start off with the offerings that we have for the C4. Still very popular is our Street Strip C4. Now that's we use all late model C4s, first of all, the 26 spline ones. That's a 70 and up case we're going to use. Now from there, all our Street Strip models have our Pro Shift servo on them. They have a mild shift kit in them, but they're designed for up to about 450 horse.
Okay.
You know, very typical 289, 302, mile 351 Windsor type of
so okay for a daily driver or even a light race.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can race this. There's not a problem racing it. We don't have any restrictions on it. But, it's the Street Strip. Like I said, you've got to look at your weight and your horsepower and torque kind of thing and see how that goes. Next model up from that is called our Comp Trans, which is our competition trans. That's basically your first foot into drag racing or bracket racing. Okay. That's a C4 transmission, 70 and up model, has the servo on it, has the aluminum pan, has a hardened input shaft, it has a greater clutch capacity within it, and it has a reverse manual valve body. Okay. So you're not worried about a modulator, hookup, or anything like that. You put it in gear, boom, it's in gear.
And that's only available the reverse manual?
That is a reverse manual. Once in a while we get a request for a forward manual. We try to steer people away from them. They don't work the same.
So if you want to stick with the standard forward manual, the base model, the Street Strip is going to be, that's the one to go to. Beyond that, you're going to the reverse, which is better for racing.
And our Comp transmission does have, like the Street Strip, is a 1-year warranty.
Okay.
And that's not from the time you purchase it. Once you send your warranty in, that's when the warranty starts.
So if you're in the middle of a build until you actually get it done.
Well, that's why we changed our warranty policies, because that's what would happen is somebody would buy it and 6 months later they
own it for a year before they even touched it, probably.
I've seen that
sometimes
on engine warranties all the time. Yep. So anyway, we moved up from our Comp, we went to a Super Comp. Now our Super Comp, that's warranted for as long as you own it. Now the Super Comp can come in two different forms. It can come in a reverse manual like this one, reverse manual only, or it has the trans brake in it. Okay. Either way, the warranties are the same. This has the bigger clutch capacity up front. It also has our special 6-pinion planet, hardened input shaft, we use exclusively Raybestos products within all the clutches and our band and all that's a Raybestos product. We've used some others in the past, but Raybestos really stepped their program up in the last 5-10 years, and the product line is just tough to beat. So that's what we use. So that's been our C4 offerings to then, and that is without a bell housing, without a converter. Now we'll get into our packages later where it's all together.
Okay, now get back real quick to just slow you down for 1 second. You told me about your warranty before, which kind of blew my mind. What did you say, lifetime warranty on the Super Comp?
That's absolutely.
And how does that work?
Well, the customer gets his transmission. It'll have a warranty paperwork to fill out. He'll put they all have serial numbers on them, build dates, and he'll fill that out, send it back to us. We enter it into our computer database, and when it comes back to us, if it comes back to us, we take care of it. Now, you may ask, well, what does a customer pay? He's going to have to pay something. Well, the customer does take care of shipping. Okay. We're not going to pick up shipping.
So they have to get it to you, but as long as they get it to you, you're going to replace it, repair it, whatever it needs.
We take care of it.
Anytime they want.
And you'd be surprised how many people drive from Ohio or New Jersey or Delaware or North Carolina. If they go sightseeing, they'll just drop their transmission
I believe it.
And maybe for a day or two, we'll know they're coming. We'll set aside time for them, and we'll do it while they wait.
Excellent.
Literally. So that's been their bread and butter for many years, and that's what our reputation was built on. But you know, C4 is not for everybody.
Some people like overdrive.
That's, of course, we've been used to driving overdrives in our normal cars for so long now.
Oh, we've got 10 speeds now from the factory, so
well,
3 might not cut it for some people.
So anyway, our next most popular transmission has been our AOD, which of course stands for automatic overdrive. Now, the Ford AOD came out in 1980, and it was in production until about 92. So it's got about a 12-year run. Most transmissions do have about a 10-year run. So the AOD was an automatic 4-speed, and what was unusual about it, the AOD had 2 input shafts. It was a very unique setup. It used a throttle cable rather than a modulator. You know, it didn't use vacuum, it used a cable or a rod down to give it throttle pressure. Now it is a little larger, it's a little than a C4, as you can see, but it was a little smaller than a C6, so it fit into a lot of body styles.
A lot of later
then.
Mustangs for sure, like a later first-gen cars have no
all the
problems
Fox
with
bodies would have had this.
the factory transmission, sure.
And so this gives you about 27% overdrive in your final gear. So that brings your RPMs down quite a bit. When people ask me that, I usually give them some easy numbers to work with. I'll just say it's about 30%. You can work with that number. So if you're doing about 3,000, you're going to do about 2,300.
Okay.
So that's a big drop.
Now with the AOD, same offerings as the C4?
Same offerings. Well, the AOD, originally we have a street strip AOD, which is rated about 450 horse also. Raybestos clutches, again, Raybestos band. One of the things that we do with the AOD is we do not keep the same drums inside. There's a drum and a sprag inside that were very weak and very prone to failure, even in regular cars. We've taken that out, we've replaced it with an upgraded drum and diode, is what it's called, and that's eliminated all our failures.
So that makes that an excellent choice, even for somebody who may have a mostly stock car, just needs a fresh AOD.
I think we just sent one to a guy with a Ford LTD2.
Okay, sure.
So that should tell you something.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and it fit pretty much in everything. The great thing about the AODs was, for us, is that we do put them on our dyno.
Okay.
And we dyno them, we have a pressure gauge hooked up to them, and actually that pressure gauge goes to the customer when he gets it, and we tell them how to set the pressure.
Okay.
So that's eliminated so many problems. I can tell you that long before we did that, the AOD has a very complex valve body, and if you didn't dyno them, you were running into trouble. So the AOD is a street strip. That's pretty much 80% of how we sell it. We do make an AOD comp with a different hardened input shaft, and we do have it set up as a trans brake offering also. But most customers, that's
the guy going to that level, the brake and everything should be.
They'll do something else, or they'll go to even the 4R70W. But AOD, extremely popular, and I say to the customers, look, if you're putting a new engine in and you need another trans, certainly consider the AOD.
And the rest of mod customers love those. They like that they can get overdrive, nice, comfortable highway manners on their classic Mustang.
Absolutely. I tell the guys, you can hear your radio again.
Yes.
And you can hear your wife or your girlfriend. You may not want that part, but you can certainly hear the radio. And it saves the engine.
Yes.
You know, it's going to save your valve springs.
That
and stuff
RPM
like
wears things out in a hurry.
Absolutely. So those are our 2 most popular offerings at this time. Now, of course, you're going to ask me about FMX, which was popular 69 through 73 in the Mach 1's Mustangs.
Big transmissions, yeah.
We will do those for you, but we have to do your unit. We don't stock those. There are not enough of them around, and we will do those, and we don't have a part number. But certainly call us.
But for the customer who's not worried about originality so much, there's other options than an FMX they can go with, such as an AOD.
In fact, that's what most people do with the FMX at this point.
Makes sense.
Okay, then you know the other popular offering is the C6.
Yes.
Now, I didn't bring any because they're too heavy, but they wouldn't fit on the table. But C6, we do a fair amount of those. At this point in our industry, we're doing most of our C6s are for restorations or for big block trucks or a big block car.
Yeah.
They're just not that many. Most guys, if they've had a C6, they've either put a C4.
And that was a question I actually had for you, because a lot of people have said that to me, hey, my car originally had a C6, say it's a 69, whatever. what's the reasoning to stay with a C6 over a C4? Is there any good real reason to keep the C6 if you don't care about originality?
If you don't care, this at the track, if you're running a quarter mile at the track, if you switch out your C6 to a C4, you'll pick up at least a tenth, if not two.
Just because of the weight?
Just because of the weight and static weight and rotational weight.
Okay.
Those two things. Outside of that, and most of the FE guys...
And with the parts available for the C4, they're every bit as strong, I would say, if not stronger in some cases.
Well, some of the parts for the C6 brakes aren't so quick, and the development was just never put towards the C6 like it has on other things. So we still do a lot of C6s, but like I say, we just don't do that many small blocks. Mostly it's an FE or it's going to be the big 429, 460 series.
So speaking of large transmissions that don't fit on the table, tell me about this.
Well, that is the Ford 6R80 transmission.
Okay.
And this particular one here was, as our display unit, this is actually out of a 3.5 EcoBoost.
Okay.
So Ford actually had 3 different offerings. They have the 4-cylinder, they have the 3.5 EcoBoost setup, and then of course the 5.0, the Coyote. The reason we brought this is it is becoming more and more popular. It's an easy fit into trucks. As you can see, the bell housing does not taper down, so you need some tunnel room on these. Now the 6-speed does give you a very steep first gear. It's 4.0 to 1 or something, like very close to that. So it gives you a very quick off the line shot. The overdrive is about the same as anything else. It's about 0.69, I believe.
Okay.
So that doesn't change that much, but you have a lot of ratios in between where you have a gear change.
Gearing,
That's right. You have that close gearing, so that does save on internal parts and makes drivability much more comfortable. Now, as you can see with this, we do have a controller hooked up, and we've also got a plate up front here. Now, the controller is similar is designed for this 6R80 in particular.
And that's for someone who is retrofitting, and it's something that didn't come with this transmission.
Absolutely. That's somebody that's going to put it in a retrofit.
Okay.
Street rod.
Classic truck, even a classic, if you can get into a classic Mustang, which require obviously a custom tunnel, but
yeah,
if you want that direction, because the factory computer, I believe, is going to control all this.
The problem with originally was that, as you know, is the late model engines use a drive-by-wire, first of all, so that's a problem. So it took a lot of programming to get a controller to work using a standard TPS or a throttle position sensor.
Okay.
And to be able just to program it so it would work off of that. Now these also have to work off, and as you know, these are going into vehicles that aren't torque managed, like the Mustangs and everything else. So that programming had to be very specific also. So this unit actually comes with 4 different programs.
So a lot goes into that little box.
Absolutely, yeah. It's stuffed in there somewhere. I don't know what they did, but it's pretty well stuffed in there. Now, if you look up front, we've got a big adapter plate up front, and anybody could probably recognize that as the big block 460, 429 series. So we've developed that adapter for the big block engine. We also have the small block adapter also, so you can put it behind any
big block, small block, and then obviously mod motor.
Right, and a mod motor and a 3.5. We've done quite a few of the 3.5s. We've actually done a couple of the 4-cylinders for street rods.
Now, is this a good choice as a replacement? So guys got a late model Coyote automatic and put a blower on it, they run single digits with ease pretty much these days.
Yes, they do.
Is this designed for that? I mean, this is designed for that, or is this designed more for the maybe 1 or 2 step upgrade over a stock transmission?
Most of our customers, well, first we designed and we market this as a retrofit. We don't necessarally sell it as an OE replacement.
Okay. Gotcha.
We just have not touched that market per se because we're selling a controller with it. The problems that get into those guys that are putting it in a Mustang is they're beating on them pretty hard.
Yes.
And yes, there are some upgraded parts. We use their asbestos racing clutches and everything in these, but when we sell it to someone that's putting it in a Bronco or a street car, we have more control over what they're going to do with it. Got you. You put it in a 9-second, 8-second Mustang.
So this is great for your conversion, for your classic vehicle.
That's how we sell. That's how we market it.
Gotcha.
for the conversion type of market that we do. What transmission is best for my application? Well, whether you're running a GM product or a Ford product, first of all, the most important thing is to be very honest with the salesman you're talking to. Is it a restoration project? Is it a go-fast project? Is it a street rod? Get some information to the salespeople up front. That's going to help them determine what's the best transmission for you. Now, obviously, if it's a restoration, you're going to put that same unit back in. We can restore that transmission, or you can purchase another exact replacement to go in that particular application. If you're doing a street strip type of vehicle, most of the time that's also a direct replacement. If you've taken a particular transmission out, C4 or Turbo 350, that's what you're going to put back in. So that makes it pretty easy for the salesman to pick the particular project and product that best suits your car. So if you're replacing the transmission and engine at the same time, that's a chance for you to look at something a little different. Let's talk about some overdrives. Now, most people have been driving overdrives for the last 20 years. So now's the time to consider that in your street rod or your little hot street car. Because let's face it, you want to go to those car shows, you want to go down to the beach, and now you want to take your car and go with that. So now's the time. Consider an overdrive. Yes, they're a little more money, but they do update the car. And they also indicate to others that you've still, one, working on the car, two, that it is more modern than it was before. So the first gen overdrives is certainly an option. Now, we go a little further with those and we can go into the electronic overdrives. Now, this is a little bit different. Yes, they're a little more complex, but they do give you the flexibility of changing your shift points and changing your shift feel, and they also update the build. If you're putting in a new Coyote engine in your build, you don't want to put a 30-year-old transmission behind it, like a C4 generally. You'll want to update that transmission to go with that updated engine. So you'll put a 4R70W in it or something of that nature, or you're putting in an LS, you'll want to update it to a 4L60E. It just, you want to have a matching setup. You don't want an old engine and a new trans or a new trans and an old engine, and you know how that goes. You want it all the same. And it's easier and easier every day now to make that happen. The controllers are much easier, they're plug and play, and they're much cheaper. So those are some things you need to consider. Also, some of the larger transmissions that are out there today, make sure that fitment is addressed in your build. Some transmissions just don't fit under some tunnels. Now, if you're willing to modify that tunnel, that's fine. But ask around, check with a builder or a street rod shop or whatever. Get some reference as far as that transmission will fit in your car. Because if it doesn't fit, it's just going to be a lot of headache. And you don't want to modify stuff that you didn't account for. The other thing is to be very honest. Be honest about your budget. You know, we all have different budgets for our projects. If you've budgeted about $1,300 or $1,400, that's going to get you a replacement transmission. You know, and then you're going to add about $1,000 if you want an overdrive type of unit. That's going to be more money. Now, if you want to go to electronic, that's going to be more money. But yes, it updates the car. It gives you the flexibility of even paddle shifting or bump shifting the transmission. You can have multiple programs, and believe me, that is the tendency now, that everybody is going towards the electronics because they're, one, easier, they're cheaper now than they were 10 years ago, and they're much easier to come by. So I think it's important that you be honest with whoever you're dealing with. Tell them really what your project is, what your budget is. And I've told people before that, hey, I think this particular transmission is not right for your vehicle. I think that you need to budget a little more, save a little more, and I think you'll be happier with a different product. That's okay too. But if your budget is your budget, that's fine also. You just have to be honest with yourself and your salesman. And I think as long as you do that, you'll be happy with the product you get, and it'll give you many, many years of satisfactory driving. That's it from Performance Automatic.